Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now, a lot of you have been asking me in the channel, so where are the reviews of the other phone brands that you used to do? Well, I pretty much have given up on them, and this phone right here from Ulefone, the T2, is another perfect example of why I'm not really bothering with these phones anymore. I mean, there's some positives, there's some good things you find out in the review with this phone, but where it is priced and compared to the competition, it is a very difficult sell for Ulefone. So this phone has the Helio P70 chipset in here. So MediaTek, a lot of you are going to sigh and go, oh, not another MediaTek phone, and fair enough.
So let's start out with a look of what we get in the box first. Plain black box. You can see we've got a SIM tray tool in here. Looks like we have, warranty card and information here. They've given us an extra screen protector, which is good. I believe it comes with one pre-applied, although it might just be one of those ones, as you can see here, that's just outlining all those specs of the phone. So you can see Helio P70, 16 megapixel rear camera, 8 front, the wireless charging it has, and then of course it's running Android 9, and we've got a 6.7 inch 2280 by 1080p screen. And yes, there is a notch, but we will take a closer look at that. But we'll have a look at the charger. Now this charger right here is rated to 18 watts, so the maximum output, as you can see, is 12 volts, 1.5 amps. We get included in the box as well a 3.5mm to Type-C adapter because of the phone's lacking the 3.5mm headphone jack, unfortunately there. And you can see also they've given us a Type-C to USB adapter, which is nice to have in the box, and a red USB to Type-C cable for charging the phone. So we'll have a quick look at the case first. So it's this crisscross design. It's made out of rubber. The grip that it gives is quite good, so the phone's not going to be slippery at all with the case on it, but it's not giving us a lot of protection as it is very slim, as you can see. It's only really a few millimeters of protection that it's giving the phone, so for drops it will only be very minor, light, small drops. On the back here you can see that it is covering at least the camera lens here, so that won't get scratched when you place it down on a table. And if we take a look at the side, you can see that the buttons are covered, which is good. The rear of the phone is made of glass. Tapping on it, it certainly does not feel like plastic to me. So it's black with this blue, you can see, accent that's around the outside. And depending on how you move it in the light, it reflects a little bit. It's not too bad, the look of it. We've got a rear fingerprint reader on there. The two cameras, so the main camera is a 16 megapixel sensor. Below it's 8 megapixel, which I believe will be just used for the depth effect, so that will be taking a photo of the background, where the main camera will take the photo of your subject. Dual tone LED flash right here. You can see the Ulefone logo, and overall the build feels reasonably good. It's not bad, as the frame around the outside does have quite a Samsung Galaxy S9 or S10 look and feel to it. It's all metal around the outside. You can see we've got two antenna lines, the downwards firing mic, which is used for your voice calls and also in video, and then the Type-C port. So charge time to charge it fully is going to be just over 2 hours at the 18 watts to charge that 4,200 watt hour battery. And you can see the loudspeaker there, downwards firing is just a single loudspeaker. There will be a sample in this review of just how it sounds. The SIM tray, like a lot of phones I review, does support 2 SIMs. So it's dual nano SIM and also a micro SD card, but of course you have to give up on one of those SIMs. The tray itself does have some metal reinforcing. There is no rubber gasket around it, as you can see. So it's just a simple SIM tray. Now the volume and power buttons that are on the right hand side, they are made out of metal, which is good. But what isn't is I've noticed that if you give the phone a shake, that the volume button especially does rattle around a little bit, which is a slight annoyance. As you can see, the left and right bezels, they are slim. Unfortunately, that's quite a wide notch we have here, considering it's only housing just the earpiece. And the front-facing 8 megapixel camera, I really wish they'd just gone with, say, a teardrop notch. I think would have been a lot more attractive there. The bottom bezel, relatively large. It's about average, really, for this price range and category of phone. The phone weighs in at 199 grams. It's 8.8 millimeters thick, and if you include then the camera bump, that brings it up to 9.4. This weight is exactly the same as Xiaomi's Redmi Note 8 Pro that I just recently reviewed. And here's a close-up of that earpiece. You can see it is round, and I'll give you an update later on in this review when I talk about the audio quality, just how it sounds for voice calls, because I'm a little concerned that it could be perhaps a little bit muffled being so small. So you can see that there is to the right of that earpiece, you can see our ambient light sensor and probably the proximity sensor. I can see a tiny little bit of shadows around the edges here from the IPS panel that this screen has. The screen's maximum brightness is 360 lux, so it's definitely not the brightest screen out there. The gamma is not too bad. It's approximately somewhere between 2.1 and 2.0. Ideally, it should be 2.2, but this isn't bad. Real-world images, as you can see, they do look good. This is not a high-end display, but I feel for the price that it's perfectly fine. It does have 2.5D glass as well, and most people will be happy with this screen. But what bothers me a little bit is the fact that I cannot adjust at all the white balance, even though the white balance it currently has, I would say is actually good. Onto now the fingerprint unlocking and face unlocking. So I find it to be disappointing because the face unlocking doesn't always work. It can sometimes be a little bit slow. The same goes for that rear fingerprint reader. It's an always on capacitive touch one, so it's not an in-screen one, which we're often seeing now. But let's just demonstrate how bad it really is, because if I look at it, okay, that unlocked, it was okay. That's not too much of an issue, but the fingerprint reader, I'll touch it now. Okay, didn't actually work just then. No, it's vibrating, didn't work. And there we go, it did unlock there and took about 1 to 2 seconds. So that's the problem. I've actually enrolled the same finger 3 times, and I'll try one more time. So touch it, you can see it unlocked then. That attempt was okay, but for me, it's really only working about 6 or 7 times out of 10, which is unacceptable. So onto the ROM performance and a few benchmarks. So there is one annoyance with these phones with notches that I have seen before, I think with some of the Xiaomi phones as well, is that if you swipe down here for your toggles with the notch, that's not actually going to work. It doesn't register there because it's not high enough. You notice with the UI, because of how high that notch is, that they've pushed the UI elements down a little bit, but you have to swipe either side then to get your toggles, which is a little bit of an annoyance. So the overall ROM performance with the apps here, I mean, we cannot actually put 5 icons down the bottom. They don't let us do that. So if I wanted to put this one down here, it's just not possible. That's another thing that I wish that we could do, at least have the other 5 icons there. But overall, the performance is good. I'm not really seeing any major lag and stutter. I think for a lower-end mid-range chipset, the Helio P70 will be fine for a lot of people, especially if you're not a big gamer, but I will show gaming performance after this as well. So multitasking, going through things is reasonably quick. You can see that sometimes it's not quite a 60 frames per second or 60 hertz refresh rate that we are getting. They're coming through. Scrolling, let's just load up my website here in Chrome, is quick and it is smooth. It's kind of be to expected. You expect this really with the P70, that it's not going to be too bad for that. And we'll just move on to, just to show you as well, just a few benchmarks here. So I'll bring up Photos, which is right here, because they don't have a gallery app in this for some reason. But I'll start out with probably the most important for most people is the battery life. But before I just talk about that, charge time is about 2 hours and 70 minutes that I recorded with the included charger, which is the 18-watt one, which is reasonable. So this was the, I think, the 3rd day of testing. I got 9 hours and 31 minutes with my own personal battery life test, which is continuous screen on time, display calibrated to 200 nits. And by the way, 200 nits with this display is actually right up towards the higher end. It's a little bit odd the way it's calibrated. And then onto the 2nd or 3rd day, it was 10 hours and 15 minutes of battery life. So this is one of the positives of this phone, that you do get good battery life. Standby battery drain is about 7% over 10 hours. Again, that's actually okay. Antutu score, this was a 2nd run of Antutu to see how much it would drop, or the 3rd run of it. So 142,000 is pretty much on par with other devices running this with the 6 gigabytes of RAM. Here it was 144, depends on how warm it is at the time of testing. So one of the few good things with this phone is the wireless performance seems to be quite good. So 352 megabits per second. The average is here too on the other side of the apartment. As long as it's over 100 megabits per second, I'm happy, and it did 161. These speeds are faster than Xiaomi's Redmi Note 8 Pro, which did surprise me. Now, GPS performance is terrible to get a first lock. It took a ridiculous 4 minutes and 22 seconds to get a first lock. It was, I don't know what was going on. I even updated and pulled through the GPS stats to pull through where the actual satellites are located to speed up getting a lock, and it still took that long, and its accuracy will be about 3 meters, but I noticed that when you're walking around and moving, it will often jump up to 6 and even 10 meters, so not very good GPS. It just needs some optimization. Camera 2 API support is full, so that's okay. Level 3 would be better, of course, and to be expected with these kind of Chinese phones, that it does not have a Widevine Level 1 cert, as you can see right here. Level 3, and that is what we're stuck with. So that's no Netflix in full HD and Amazon Prime as well. So the internal storage, it's eMMC, I believe, 5 spec, or it could be 4.5 spec. Not particularly fast, 300 sequential reads and 200 writes is not going to slow this phone down, not at all. And the 4K random reads and writes, I mean, they're okay. It's not amazing. Onto audio quality. So you've got to use the 3.5mm adapter in order to use analog audio with your plug-in headphones. And the quality sounds all right, but it's not a patch on what you get from Xiaomi. Xiaomi just does it so much better, even if it is just Type-C and not 3.5mm. It's not that great. The volume is okay, but it just seems a little bit flat to me. The same for the earpiece with voice calls. I have made a few voice calls. You probably saw with the battery stats. There's a little bit of call time there. I think it was only about 6 minutes or so. But I did notice that it sounds a little flat. The volume's okay, but it's not a high quality earpiece, not a patch on, for example, my Samsung S10 Plus's earpiece. But that's to be expected, of course. So what about the loudspeaker down the bottom? It's loud enough for alerts and things like that coming through. You'll hear them, but I've noticed that it seems a little bit muffled at times. It can sometimes distort. It's not a quality speaker. The loudness is okay, but I'll give you a sample of it now. With a sample from your favorite YouTube channel. Well, so you can get up and close for macros with high detail. And then the main camera, which is 64 megapixels, that is a Samsung sensor, and it's the first time that I will be looking at it. I believe that Xiaomi has exclusive rights to it for a little while. I think they're using it first on their... So our gaming performance here in PUBG is okay. The frame rate, just with the default settings, okay. So this is HD, and I think it's only running at 40 frames per second by default. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but it's not the extreme setting, which is the 60. You can override it, but you will definitely see a few frame dips here and there. So this performance is fine. You can get kills. You can definitely get to the end stages of the game without any issues. You can zooming in here, moving around. It's a much better chipset than, say, the older generation Helio X20 series. The X20 series, I noticed, was quite choppy, and it just had a very poor GPU. At least this GPU is a little bit more powerful and can handle the game just fine at least the default settings right here. Now, one of my favorite games to test is Shadowgun Legends because of its demanding graphics, but I just will not run on this phone for some reason. It always gets stuck on checking device performance no matter how many times I try. This is as far as I will get. I think it's something to do with the ROM. So before we get onto my conclusion, which you probably know the direction that is heading, this is the camera app that we have, and it's very sort of stock standard MediaTek camera app here. Very basic. So you got beauty modes. Their aperture mode is very weak. It's almost like they're using a fake. The stitching is so bad it looks almost fake to me. They're not really using that second lens. We've got mono, which is black and white, which is kind of just pointless. Pro mode, which only gives you white balance, and ISO, that is basically it. And you can see the exposure difference right there. There's no dedicated night mode. Night mode is very poor, as you'll see. Sorry, not night mode, but night shots. And then the video as well. So here are some video samples and some samples from the cameras. And now the rear camera. So this is a real disappointment. First off is the audio, which is, it's only in mono, which is a big mistake. Poor bitrate as well. And the quality of this video, 1080p. You do have electronic image stabilization option, which I've currently got turned on. And yeah, it does stabilize it a little bit, but really I would not be buying this mobile phone for its video quality, because there are other phones that can do a lot better than this, and a lot of phones will be able to also record in 4K. Now the chipset does support 4K, but for some reason the application just does not allow you to record in 4K. But let's have a look at the front-facing camera now. So with the electronic image stabilization on, we have a huge crop here, and this is my arm out at full length, and that's just really almost too much of a crop to be practical, but at least it does have stabilization. But again, the audio is in mono here, which is a real disappointment. They need to push out a firmware update to at least give this stereo audio and improve on the quality.
So there we go. You can see now why after 4 days that the effort I spend on this phone just really isn't worth it, why I'm not really focusing on this brand. But hey, let's not be negative here. I'll focus first on the positives, like I normally do. The screen is actually okay. The calibration, there's no white balance calibration or saturation or anything that you normally get with MediaTek's Mirror Vision application. It's missing for some reason, which is really quite annoying. But apart from that, the screen is okay. Brightness could definitely be a lot better for direct sunlight. We've got very good wireless. The wireless actually turned out to be a lot faster than the Redmi Note 8 Pro that I just recently reviewed, the last mobile phone in the channel that I reviewed, which was a bit of a surprise. Battery life turned out to be better than I expected. The Helio P70 isn't actually a bad chip. Okay, you're not really getting much lag. Multitask's okay. Gaming performance, everything out there will be playable. You just need to tweak the settings a little bit. Even on the lowest settings there with PUBG, perfectly playable, but there will be now and then a few little stutters. But you even get that on some of the flagship phones. It's kind of to be expected. Just don't force the highest settings using a tool like GFX tool for PUBG, then you'll run into quite a bit of slowdown there. It does get a little bit warmer on the back, but only up to about 35, 36 or 7 degrees there. So, I mean, it's nothing really that concerning with temperatures. So the speakers, a little bit average, not really that great at all. It's quite flat. Call quality, earpiece quality, not really that good, really. It's flat. I mean, it's fine. The volume's okay. You can hear people. That's the main thing. Noise cancellation, I'm not really too sure if it's actually working or working properly. There is the secondary mic at the top, which is not being used in video quality. The video quality is terrible, as you saw. I mean, the audio is just mono. It looks a little bit blocky. The blacks tend to just kill the details. It's really not good video quality at all compared to other brands out there. And that is the issue. All the other brands out there just offer, I feel, quite a bit more than this phone. You're getting better support, you're getting better firmware updates, better features, better camera sensors. The portrait modes are going to be a lot better. Selfies will be a lot better. The list just goes on and on. So that's why it's just really impossible to recommend a phone like this. I mean, why would I? When you consider the fact that Realme, Xiaomi, they're offering for the same price or even cheaper, much better phones that just offer a lot more. So Ulefone, if they want to continue to exist as a brand, they have a lot of work to do, I feel. They need to just really focus on the software side of things. I mean, the hardware, the build quality is pretty decent. It's good. The frame around the outside is okay. It's not quite as good as some of the other brands, but they're getting there. They've got Type-C ports, of course. And if they just focus on just try and offer a little bit more or perhaps lower their prices to make it a little bit more competitive, then I feel even then maybe not, it's still not worth considering really compared to what everyone else is offering. So sad to say that this is the reason why I'm not looking at these brands, because it's just not worth my time, your time as a viewer. You're viewing a video that you know the outcome of, so it's kind of like, what's the point? But thank you for those that have watched the whole review here. If you were considering the phone, at least it was educational for you. If you did like the video, then please do give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, you're new around here, these longer style videos, if you do like them with the detail, please consider subscribing to the channel, would really help out, and also tick the notification bell so you get notified when the new videos coming through if it's going to actually work. And thank you so much for watching. Hope to catch you back in the next video. Bye for now.